Samaritan Ministries has a whole system set up to get cash-paying patients to, they do it for cash. But that's the way we used to do it. And the benefit of that is that you can scam the government. I mean, look at how many, or just stand behind somebody that's on food stamps. I'm not trying to be uncharitable, but I would love to have a system where somebody gave me free money to buy food so I could use my own money to buy booze and cigarettes and whatever I wanted to. That's the way we run healthcare. And it costs, you had the numbers, it costs much more per Medicaid patient than it does for Medicare patient or for any other aspect of medicine. So it's an all or none because it's a philosophy. It's just not, charity is when you reach into your own pocket and help your neighbor. Charity is not when I reach in my neighbor's pocket to help another neighbor. And that's what Medicaid is. So the honest answer is we have to do it for ourselves. And the other thing is it tears communities apart when you don't need each other. See, it used to be when I was growing up and you got sick, the neighbors came over and they brought a casserole and they kind of helped you, Now what do? You expect the government to do it. They come in and your neighbors, you don't even know your neighbors because you don't need to. You call that magic number, you take an ambulance to the ER and you're a government ward. It isn't working. So, but I'm going to tell you, I don't remember, I grew up in the 50s, I just don't remember seeing people lay in the streets. I just don't, because people did take care of each other. So I don't think there's any, my answer is there's no government role. It starts small, principius obsta. It starts small, finis respice, finum respice, it ends up big. It always does. So.
Is there any politician or any political advocate group out there that is encouraging healthcare back to the basics that you're describing and seeing?
Other than AAPS, I mean, honestly, maybe the Tea Party. I don't think, people see it as very complicated. Unfortunately, I'd like to say the Republican Party, but they don't get it. Steve King is my representative. He's a great guy, but I told him this. I said, I don't like to hear the word replace in your vocabulary. So they don't really get it either. They just think everybody's a big government guy who thinks, yeah, that government did it bad, but we can do it right. That's just the way people in government think. So I'm not sure. I think that, but I think there are a lot of individuals that get it. So any thoughts on that?
Well,
maybe some of the religious organizations.
Yeah, I mean, Samaritan Ministries. You can join Samaritan Ministries, and they are exempt from Obamacare as a faith-based medical cost-sharing industry. So members of Samaritan Ministries or MediShare or Christian Health Ministries, those are three Christian ones. I would think there's probably Amish ones too and Jewish ones and anything that's faith-based, okay, medical cost-sharing ministry in operation since prior to '99. SamaritanMinistries.org. You go there, you can join. They have 23,000 families that belong right now, over 65,000 members. And when they go for care, they don't have a network discount card. They pay cash, okay? They pay at the time of service. So they are growing very rapidly. 2 years ago, they had 15,000 families. Today, 23. They are not, technically, they're not a political organization, okay? They're technically not, but they are having impact, okay? That's the one that I think of. APS is technically not a political organization. They're a medical association. They are, I think that they are having impact. Is it 40 or 60% of the doctors in Congress belong to APS? One or the other?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean.
Well, the other one, yeah, Ron Paul's one of our members, by the way, Rand Paul and Ron Paul. What's the other?
Docs for Patient
Care. Docs for Patient Care. There's also Docs for Patient Care that's behind this idea. So, and like I say, it's not a new idea. This is the way we used to do it before we had all these problems.
And the Tea Parties are mixed. There are many different Tea Parties. Some get it, some don't. So I can't say, I just can't say centrally that the Tea Parties get it. Like I said, some do, some don't.
I will say that one of the questions when I'm on radio, this is kind of a hard discussion because you only get like 10 minutes, and there's always somebody that calls in on radio and says, how would I possibly survive without my Medicare? And what my answer is that unfortunately, you don't have a choice because it's not like you have the choice of choosing something else or Medicare. Medicare is going down. I mean, it's just unsustainable. So it's either going to become the Soviet style, we give you everything for free, but there's nothing out there to buy, or it's got to be something radically different, because they're going down the process of, we're just going to limit it. And see, right now, if you're a Medicare patient, and Medicare ratchets down the payment for a procedure so low that your doctor cannot afford to give it, okay? But it does have a payment listed for it, then you don't get the right to buy it from that. You can't pay cash for it if you're a Medicare physician. So that's the problem. It's like, it's like the Monty Python cheese shop routine. You advertise all this cheese, but it's really not there. And so that's where we're going with Medicare, plus the rationing, plus the IPAB, the panels that determine that we're just not going to pay for certain diseases, and we're not going to treat these age groups, That's where we're going. We're going to go, and I hate to keep talking about the Nazis, but God love them, they are a good object lesson. You have to depersonalize people before you kill them. And American depersonalization, here's what we're doing. We're not putting numbers on your shirt or on your skin, but we are giving you a number. It's called your Social Security number. We give the provider a number. It's called his UPIN. And then we have your case number, which is all put together. And so you're not going to have a Medicare bureaucrat call you up and say, Mr. Smith, we're so sorry, but we've looked at what you wanted. We're just not going to pay for it. And I'm afraid that without the pacemaker you may die, but we're just not going to buy it. Because that would be very hard, and you'd have to argue with a patient that's dying, and, they don't want to do that. So, no, that's not the way it works. Your doctor's going to request this pacemaker. This is actually a real story of my vice president's father. Your doctor's going to request the pacemaker, and they're going to say, we see that 485-549-311 is over 65 years old, or is over 75 years old, and they've requested a CPT 60293 that is actually this special kind of pacemaker, and we don't pay for 60293 and a 297 denied, boom. And then they send it back as, we have determined this is not medically necessary. That's what they do. And they never have to get their little tootsies bloody, and they don't realize they're killing people because they're just a bureaucrat looking at numbers and deciding which matches with what.
Now, there was a case in Oregon. Do you remember the case, the cancer case? Somebody in Oregon wanted some kind of cancer treatment, I forget what exactly. She was on Medicaid, and they denied it because she was stage 4. They said, your claim is denied. However, were you aware that doctor-assisted suicide is covered under Medicaid? True story, true story. By the time that letter hit the media, they kind of reversed that practice a bit. But that actually happened within the last 10 years in Oregon.
Well, what you're saying is making complete common sense. I believe it's just got so overregulated, as you've already stated, that we can't see the trees through the forest.
That's right.
And so we're just thinking or trying to look at who can we make contact with to share with our leadership that, hey, we're tired of the regulations and let's get back to basics.
Your senator, your congressman, your state rep, call them. As a matter of fact,
I'll tell you the first step. Here's the first step that everybody needs to do in the state of Iowa is call the governor's office and say no to the exchanges.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is simplified because although that's not going to solve everything, if he goes ahead and does what he's planning on doing, that's going to take us over the cliff. So just for your own economic well-being, I would tell him, please do not sign on to the state exchanges. Just say no, because it's not only bad economics, it's evil. It's going to fill up. Des Moines is going to be filled, like Ralph said, with people who are going to be looking into your bank account. They're going to be running around doing all this stuff, and it's going to cost us $20 to $40 million a year, and we're just getting into the black again. So that's the one thing you can do right now.
And then what you need to do is rise up out of your chair, go to the window, open the window, and scream outside, I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. Remember that movie, Mad as Hell?
Yeah, that's right. You have your hand up.
I think you also need to, when you go to the doctor's office, say, I won't comply with this. How many guns do you have? It's many of
No, that's exactly right. I wouldn't tell them either.
Yeah, you just don't think, they wouldn't take a picture of my son and a dermatologist yesterday. I said, hold on, what are you doing? Is this for the doctor? No, it's for Obamacare. You're not going to.
No, that's
They
right.
did.
That's right.
And I think you need to start saying, here's the line.
Right.
And give them the courage to say to the government, here's the line.
Let me tell you, that I completely agree with that, and I wouldn't tell them that either. And I am a doctor. I wouldn't tell them that. And I write a column for WorldNet Daily, WND.com. And anyway, I had an article on the psychiatric abuse, how the psychiatric practice of psychiatry was used in the Soviet Union to quiet dissidents. And I got to tell you, we are already seeing this. The NRA is about to be sucker punched. I'm not here to talk about guns per se, but the NRA is about to be sucker punched because what they're doing is the anti-gun people have pulled them and said, well, how can you possibly want guns in the hands of insane people? I mean, come on, you've got to have some limits. And so they say, well, we agree we need to work on the mental health issue. The problem is who determines that you're mentally ill? And what's happening right now that is a really dirty little scheme, I think, is the vets are coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. In order to get care, they have to be labeled as having PTSD. And now they're saying, because a lot of them vote very conservatively, says, you know what, maybe we shouldn't let these, maybe if you have PTSD, you shouldn't be given a license to carry. You see where this goes? I mean, the problem is medicine, you know, Lenin said, medicine is the keystone in the arch of socialism. So just keep your eyes open. You're doing exactly the right thing. It's time for some passive resistance, maybe some active resistance, but it is time. I mean, I really think we're at the end game. I think we're at the end game. And if this doesn't get repealed, and this doesn't, we're going down economically and socially. I have a feeling. So my cup's not very full today, but sorry about that.
And were you aware that about half the people that Stalin sent to the gulags were not sent there for being criminals or dissidents, they were mentally ill?
Right. In fact, Andrei Sakharov was sent to the mental institution, and for 10 years he was kind of disappeared after he had the audacity to send some missive to the West saying, you better build up your nuclear arsenal because we are. You know, they didn't like that. So they said he was a very talented nuclear physicist. He says, yes, you know, Comrade Sakharov was very talented but misguided. He's a sick man. So that's what they did. Yeah.
How many